Hey, hi, how are you, Becca?
Good. How are you, Janice?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I heard you've got lots of questions for us from our last post.
Yes. So I've shared the math kits, and I got a question from a mom who her child is going into third grade, and she's wondering when kids start learning multiplication, and she's worried because her child is still working on mastering addition and subtraction. And I know lots of kids are in that place where they are
Yeah.
starting third grade, still unsure with addition and subtraction, really knowing those facts, and multiplication is right there. So
Yeah.
how do we know as parents when our kids are really ready to learn multiplication, and what can we do when they're still working on addition and subtraction
Mhm.
facts?
So that's a really good question, and there's so many. There's actually a lot of possible answers, and I'm sure you, as a teacher, you saw that there are a lot of different ways to do things. So what I can tell you is like the end result, like in fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, when kids are starting to do algebra, like any of those facts, if they don't have them down perfectly, like if they're not very fluent in them, they really struggle. They don't struggle because the math is actually so hard. They struggle because they don't know those basics. So the whole problem just becomes very long and laborious. So when I saw kids at that age that were struggling in pre-algebra, it was always because they were having problems with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and it was usually with all of them, not just with one. Um, so it does depend, I think, what age the children are and what you do. And there's different things that you can do. One thing that I found really helpful, so I'm working actually with a child right now that is going into third grade. And the parents asked me to work with them on multiplication. And I started, but then I saw that they were really weak in addition and subtraction. So what I started to do, I did two things for them. So I want the child to feel like they can start learning multiplication, because they really can, especially when they're starting to learn multiplication, multiplying by 1, 2, and 3. They can really start doing that. Even if they don't totally understand the concept, they can still at least get started. So the child started working on book 1 in our series, and so that was the one time multiplying by 1, and then book 2, multiplying by 2. In tandem, because it's the summertime and they have a lot of time, I started having them review the addition facts, not subtraction yet, just the addition facts, because the child really needs to know addition very, very well first. So rather than having them work on multiplication and addition and subtraction, they're working on multiplication and addition. Now the child understands addition, but is pretty rusty on actually quite a few of the math facts in addition. So I started them with adding 1, and I saw how fluent they were with those. And when they were working on them and they knew them very quickly, then I moved them and added all the +2s and then all the +3s. And then I just keep waiting for the child to know that entire group really, really well. And then I add the next group. And those groups, as you add them on, they get smaller and smaller until you are only adding 12 plus 12 at the end. So what that did was help the child feel really confident, because we were using a pack of flashcards to do this. What they're noticing is that the pack of cards that they know is thicker faster than the cards that they don't know. So they feel like they're getting through them if you're giving them all the 1s and 2s and 3s first. So that's kind of how I work through the reviewing addition for a child that's actually older, but then also giving them the challenge of learning the multiplication, which they know that their friends are doing. They know that they're supposed to be doing it. So that just starts to give them that feeling that, that they can do it and they're accomplishing something new. So that's what I do. And then I do this pretty much the same thing with subtraction. And I try to get that in there. And I kind of really urge the parents to practice that addition a couple times a day, maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day, so that they can really get a ton of practice before starting third grade, where they really need to know addition and subtraction. So what do you do? What are some of the things that you've done in your classroom?
Well, hearing you talk about students using it in pre-algebra in like 5th and 6th and 7th grade, got me thinking that that by the end of 3rd grade, they need to understand how multiplication works, but they don't necessarily have to have all their facts memorized, because they're still learning them, and that still will be a process that their 4th grade teacher and their 5th grade teachers will take them through. So I think that's important for parents to know that in 3rd grade, when they introduce multiplication, the goal is for the kids to understand how multiplication works. And then they'll start working on, once they understand how it works, memorizing those facts so that then they can use them easily in the next step up of math that they have to learn. And so then, yeah, in 3rd grade, as they're learning about what multiplication is, that it could be repeated addition, arrays, different groups of, that they still are working on mastering their addition facts, because they understand how addition works, but they need to be able to, without expending a lot of mental energy, get those answers more quickly. So it's kind of 2 different skills that they need to be working on at different times.
Interesting. Yeah. So did you see a big difference between the kids, like the groups of kids that knew these facts well actually coming into 3rd grade, and the kids that were just learning them in 3rd grade? Were there a lot of kids that already knew them by 3rd grade?
The addition, and so kids were always way stronger in addition than they were in subtraction.
Yeah.
And I didn't teach 3rd grade, but taught 2nd grade. So by the end of 2nd grade, the kids who were really strong in their math facts didn't feel intimidated by math. And so that confidence that they had didn't hold them or encourage them to try new, more challenging things in math. And so multiplication is this thing that could be really scary and unnerving, but because they had felt success and confidence in knowing their addition and subtraction facts and using those to add and subtract big numbers and solve challenging word problems, they knew, oh, if I can do that, I can learn something new with multiplication too.
Yeah. And I think, as a parent, if you're doing this on your own, it's like when I first started trying to figure this out, I was definitely intimidated by all this, because I just didn't know where to start. And I also didn't know how long it really took a child to learn one math fact, because I thought it would be much faster and easier than it was. So, I thought if my daughter learned, 7 plus 5 one day, I thought for sure she would know it the next day. Like, I just didn't get that. And no, it really took months for the facts to be cemented. So I think, I would encourage parents to just understand that it takes time and not to stress, because if they stress, then the child, will definitely be stressed also. And then the whole experience won't be that great. But also that the child does need a lot of repetition. So you really do need to do it. Like if they're behind, and still struggling with addition in 3rd and 4th grade, they are somewhat behind, which does not mean at all that they can't catch up, and it doesn't mean that they can't catch up really quickly, and it really doesn't mean anything about their math ability at all. It just means that they haven't had enough practice. But with that older child, they probably can catch up much more quickly too, because it hasn't been cemented, but it's all kind of there. But they just need some more practice to solidify it. And if you do that, then the child's going to feel great, because the children know that they're supposed to know it and that they don't. So as soon as they do, they're going to feel much better and confident. So if you're listening to this and you're a parent out there and you feel like your child might be a little bit behind, definitely don't stress about it, and just get them that practice. But start from it's better to start from the beginning and go a little bit more slowly in the beginning, so the child can feel successful, than jump forward and skip that foundation part. So Because I think up through 5th grade, you still have time to catch up on all the things that the child is, behind in or just not that sure about. So how's the weather out there?
It's hot.
It's hot over here too.
It's feeling humid too, so maybe we'll get some rain.
Yeah, I keep looking out there. It looks like it's going to rain sooner or later. So anyway, well, thank you. Do you have any other questions that you got that
I think that's it. And I mean, that really is relevant too to a parent whose child is learning addition. When do they move them on to subtraction? And that it really is about kind of laying a meticulous foundation and not trying to skip things so that they have a solid foundation with no holes in their math facts, because it is so important to know for all other areas of math.
Definitely don't rush. It's slow and steady wins the race.
I know. As a parent, I need to remind myself that.
I know. I did that.
And she's only 7. It'll take some time.
Yeah. I definitely did that with my daughter. She was my first child, so I felt like I was definitely more in rush mode or race, or like, oh my gosh, she's behind, and then just trying to go too quickly. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen faster.
Right.
It doesn't happen faster. I think if you go slowly, it actually happens faster in the end. So. So anyway, well, thank you. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.
All righty.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.